So how many people have like made 360 content in their past? How many people haven't done it at all? Okay, cool. So a little bit of history. My name is Tom Connors. I work for The Verge. I do video there. And actually it was here at CES that we got the call that, hey, you have the opportunity to be at the White House to interview the First Lady. How do you want to do it? Like, what's the idea of how you want to like get in there and make that something special? And a big topic of CES was a lot of 360 video, a lot of VR. So that was our initial like learn out, like, oh, let's shoot in 360, having no experience and no idea what that meant or what the production of doing that was, which was a dumb thing to do. I don't recommend doing it, but we learned a lot, and I think it turned out really well. Did everyone get the chance to see the video? No one's seen it? Okay, cool. So we'll play a couple moments from that and like talk about it a little bit. So I'm with The Verge. We did the filming. We partnered with John and Total Cinema 360. They helped us bring in some cameras and work on that. But we actually had to partner with Lunar North, and Marcus is.
Yeah, I'm Marcus. I'm creative director and partner at Lunar North. All right. So we're based out of Detroit, and yeah, Tom reached out to us. We got an email that basically said, "How would you like to make a video for the First Lady?" And how do you say no to that? And they're like, "Okay, and it's 360 and it's VR." So I'm like, "Okay, we have a lot to figure out here."
Yeah. So it was both of our first times doing it, and the thing I want to stress the most is like, it wasn't that hard. It really wasn't. And if you haven't done it yet, try. Like, there are tons of easy ways into it. That being said, we did not do the stitching. All the stitching was handled for us. I think that's pretty complicated to understand. So plan accordingly. But yeah, we'll just get started on what I think we want to talk about is sort of what the challenges we faced when we had an interview to deal with. I'm going to move the first slide. So yes, this is sort of a title card we have of like, and this kind of represents the idea of like bringing in some 2D elements to a 360 shoot, which I think we're going to talk a little bit about. Yeah, move on. Okay, so we got this idea of having to shoot an interview in 360, and we hit like a couple initial like big problems we had. One, there's lack of visuals. Like, sure, we're in the White House, and that's like really exciting and new, but you're still in a static room with not a lot changing. It's not exactly like you're hang gliding off of a mountain where you're like in the cockpit with the balloon, right? It's not a very dynamic scene that's going to change. So how do we make a full 10-minute interview interesting and something that you can watch? And then the second thing is connection, right? Like, there's something about 360 video that still puts you at a distance from a person. You can feel like you're in the room with those people, but there's still right now, I feel like we have that problem of being maybe 5 feet away from someone. And while you're in the room with them, you're still pretty much at a good distance from them. And it's hard to connect, right? And like an interview is all about connection. And here we have this chance to see and be in the same room with the First Lady, but to make you connect with her was a big challenge we were initially figuring out. And then this last one I touched on already was inexperience. None of us had ever done anything with 360 before. We're all big like VR nerds and like really excited for the idea of it, but actual production, zero. So, you know, it's a lot of eggs to put in one 360 basket of bringing a camera there to the White House, setting it down, and walking away hoping we get it. Like that. Needless to say, I don't think a lot of us would have jobs if we left without a video of her. So yeah, let's move on. So we had two major solutions. One, which Marcus is going to talk about, is we knew we wanted to use graphics. We knew we wanted to use graphics to help bring those visuals in, help accentuate what she's talking about, and help connect. There we go. And help connect everything to bring the viewer into it a little bit better. And graphics were a big part of that. But the one solution that we also decided to do was we wanted to shoot a traditional 2D video along with it. This is my really crappy shot plot for this, but the idea was like it wasn't just these three subjects, but we had an entire set around it, right? And this like brings in that whole 360 element of having something interesting going around. One of the shots we used was a 5-foot slider, and the shot I think gets used once, and it was because my editor felt bad that I was on the slider for 20 minutes and not ever used the shot, so she snuck it in there at one point, and I don't think it's actually useful. But the whole time you get to actually experience me. Do you mind popping out to YouTube? So yeah, this is our video. The other shot we had was Total Cinema actually filmed the photo shoot that we had with the First Lady as well, and that was sort of our introduction to this. And then we had our first graphic. Can you push through? Yeah, that. Wait for it to load. Yes. Sure. Yeah. Sure. You got it. Hello? Hello? All right, there we go. Okay, so, yeah, so, do you want to drop the resolution down there? We're working off a phone, so bear with us. So anyways, we put this whole, traditional 2D set around, and it's funny, one of our editors has a lot of friends in the academic field for VR, and she had asked them what they thought about it, and they were like, well, it doesn't really feel like you actually use 360. It feels like you're really afraid to use it because you didn't embrace it, like you still shot in 2D, which I think is a really interesting point that I actually really am interested in debating. But what I think it really helped us with is it helped address a lot of the issues that we had. Do you mind going back to those slides for a second while that loads? So how did that help us? So the lack of visuals, one, like, it would have been really easy for us to still shoot in 2D and then remove our entire, like we could have shot a plate of everyone in the room and removed it in post, and you'd never have known that 2D shoot happened. But like I said before, having that entire set gave someone something to look at when they looked around, right? I think in 360 you want to, not necessarily, you want to focus people on what they want to look at, but you want to at least reward them for having the courage to kind of look around and do stuff, right? So that was a big reason to kind of that. Turn the slide here. Back to the connection, like, right? So we got those close-up shots in. You want to go to that quick? That might be good. So, like in this instance, right, we're using our tight shot from our traditional interview setup, and while graphics are happening behind us, and while we have it kind of blurred out in the background, which is also how we're hiding cuts, right? You have a 20-minute interview and you cut it down to 10 minutes, like, you have a lot of cutting happening, and like hiding that in 360 in a good way is difficult, to say the least. But being able to incorporate videos was something we knew we wanted to do, because this whole piece is about social media and how the First Lady uses that. So having these kind of like phone placeholders was a big breakthrough moment for us, where we could figure out, oh, this is how we're going to show a lot of other content other than the one 360 shot that we have. All right, so yeah, go back to that. And then also, go back to our inexperience, it was a huge failsafe for us, because at the very end of the day, we knew we would leave with at least, a regular traditional interview with the First Lady, and not have to rely on, two experimental cameras in a lot of ways. We actually partnered with John and told us in the 360, and it was tight. There was a couple errors with the one camera, and it was kind of down to the wire on if it was going to work when we did it. So I can't stress again, like, have backups still. Like, it's still an emerging technology, and we're still not sure we can use it. But now I want to get into more of what Marcus and his team like beautifully executed for us, which is this idea of graphics and wiping to a whole other world to keep this interesting throughout. So here you go, Marcus.
So yeah, designing in 360. I come from a traditional graphic design background, so it's kind of found my way into motion graphics. So this was an exciting, designing in 360 was an exciting challenge for me. So, like any project, it was great because with Mettle's tool, the Skybox, we really were able to just work the way we always work. We did not have to change anything in our production process. So we started just like we always would, slide with storyboarding. And this was kind of fun. The challenges with this came more from not in the design of it, but actually figuring out how do we use VR. So we started off, you can see, very simple. We start right in the center, so we focus on that, and start to introduce these elements that branch out and move around. And we bring them back to the center, and then have a nice calm moment, and then explode out to the 360 full around so you get the opportunity to look. And now you've essentially given your viewer a tutorial on how to do this, like you're in a video game. So they know things will move around, they know to go 360, and then it was just kind of figuring out some of the visuals we'd use. Not everything we decided to use made it in there, like We have this fun frame here. We thought it would be great to have Michelle Obama and a VR headset drop on her to deal with that thing, given the whole social media subject. But so this was really our process, just like you would any other projects. You can go scroll through these real quick. So just starting very crude, pen and paper. Just sort of thinking about how we would handle these challenges, figuring out pacing, all that. So you can see how a lot of that's starting to translate in there. And we can go ahead and talk about kind of the style there. So it was great. The Verge had a pretty good idea of how they wanted the web element of this to go and the overall presentation of it. So we kind of had a system to start with. So we had a good jumping off point for what our visual should be, kind of where our color palette should go, font choices, things like that. And even just like you can see the pairing of the imagery and the type and everything. It's sophisticated, but it's playful. So we had to figure out how do we translate that into everything. So these were some of our early attempts here. In the top left there, you can see us kind of trying to figure out how we're going to get these containers for different, like Michelle Obama's tweets, vines, things like that, and then just sort of how to like place elements on the page, on the screen, how it would work out. And what we found pretty quickly with this is that everything felt huge. As soon as we dropped it in, like we would just upload these to YouTube and just grab Google Cardboard. That's how we do a lot of our prototyping. No sophisticated VR stuff, no Oculus or anything. But we found that things were moving way too fast. Things were way too big, so they felt like they were right in your face. So in the big, huge, solid color fields, we were just overwhelmed. So if we go into the next page, you can sort of see where we started to find some refinements. And we really started establishing a visual language that was something that we had a lot of content. We had 10.5 minutes worth of motion graphics to do. So we had to figure out how to create something that was reusable but not too repetitive. So we came up with a lot of these circles and lines that would sort of lead the viewer around and act as directional devices sometimes. And then integrating footage, that really helped a lot. That was a big breakthrough, I thought, for us. So you can see, like, we designed everything flat. It was all essentially 2D. And it's just amazing to see. If you jump back to the video, Tom, some of the sections. But we really didn't have to do a whole lot of sophisticated mapping. There were areas if you want, things to feel like they're on a certain plane in 3D space. Skybox has awesome aspects of it that can help you integrate. Yeah, just like this stuff here. So it feels more like it's on a plane and less on the ground. But overall, I think we really felt like we liked the roundness of everything. And then you can jump back to PDF. This is just, we thought this was really fun, just kind of seeing like what is essentially happening with your graphics. Like Skybox just did all this for you. We didn't have to think about how to do this at all. We clicked a couple buttons and it happened. We could just stick to what we knew and be good, 2D motion designers, focus on that side of things. And then there was a little bit of it incorporating some Cinema 4D stuff, but they had really nice rectangular outputs from Cinema Now. So that was a piece of cake. There's a shot where a tire kind of rolls around the whole screen and comes back. That was just a quick little 3D output. But yeah, that's and then there was a lot of fun stuff sort of figuring out some of these devices, like how to lead your eye around, just bouncing back and forth. So you follow the circle. And you know exactly where to go, and you're not talking down to your audience with an arrow pointing at them saying you have to look this way, go over here. You find a fun way to incorporate the graphic language with some of the direction. More or less, yes. Yeah. He asked if our design was all flat on a 2D canvas. Essentially, a lot of it was designing things in Illustrator, bringing it into After Effects. And there was actually a lot of designing straight in After Effects because, given the timeline, I think we had 3 weeks from start to finish to storyboard and execute this whole thing. So we had to make sure we were building things for animation.
You don't ever have to take in Verge to create them in post, and then when it's back in the...
Yeah, well, that was what I was saying. It was great because there were a few moments where we did want to do that. So the tools that Mettle has, where they do the distortion for you, you place it in there, and it shows up as a